right, geographers, let's do some cool stuff. All right, I know I always say that, but today, let's do some actual cool stuff. You dig? All right, here's the plan. Here's what we're gonna do. Um, get into. Here's not what we're gonna do. Here's what you need to do. Get into Canvas. Okay. Files, data. The usual thing to access our data. Find the one that starts with this L7 and has a bunch of numbers and letter and whatever after it. Okay. And you need to download that. That's our data for this exercise here. It's a compressed file, but you'll note that it's not .zip as we usually see. It's this .7z. And with this, it's simply a different way to go about compressing data. And this is a big file. This seemed to compress it, shrink it a little more than your standard zip algorithm that we use. So that's the reason why I did it. But it shouldn't be a big deal for you. You should be able to simply right click on it, to go to extract all, right, and do this usual thing. It seems to be that by Windows 11, this works and is embedded in here. If not, get 7-zip, the file or the program rather that I mention in that zipping files, working with zipped files, whatever video that I've referenced before, had available for you in the previous week's exercises and all that. That should be able to handle it, no problem. But this seems to work on my computer with no extra fancy stuff. So if this is the case, if you have that extract all option when you right click, fantastic. And from here, go ahead, if it's in your downloads folder, get rid of the little extra folder that it's going to make and just have it save it right here. Okay. And the reason for this is to keep it simple, since I'm going to move the data files anyway. It's also a case where it seems to be some of you were getting error messages with some geoprocessing and things in one of the other classes. And it looks like it might be a case where another student pointed this out, very helpful. And if you ever do solve any errors or see some issues, let me know, communicate, because chances are you're not the only one having that issue. But it looks like one of the reasons for these errors was because of too many nested folders, right? Things were folders that were saved in folders with an identical name because of this whole unzipping thing, and it confused the computer. Okay, seems to be an issue. I haven't tried to replicate it, but just to avoid this, if this is the reason, simplify all of this stuff, right? Get rid of that folder, go ahead and hit extract. It's going to take a little while because it's a big folder. And the reason why this file is so big is it's a high resolution aerial image that we're going to be working with. I'll show you here momentarily. We're almost there. You can do it. Here we go. Beautiful. All right. So what you'll see once you've unzipped it are 3 files. The main one, bring this over here, this big one that makes up most of the size here, is the TIFF file. That's the image itself. Okay, so that's the actual photograph of this portion of the Antelope Valley that we're going to be looking at. Then we also have this TFW. That's what we call a world file. And what this file does is it tells ArcGIS where to actually place the image, right? So these are the geographic coordinates so that it can bring it in and actually put it in the proper location. Because if we don't have that, which is actually one of the next things we're going to do, is I'm going to give you an image that doesn't have any of this world file stuff, and you're going to learn how to properly place it. But if we don't have that, as you'll see, it goes, look, I don't know where to put this, right? I can bring it in, I can draw it if you want me to, but I don't know where it's supposed to be. And things, might wind up out in the middle of the ocean or someplace far away from where they should be, right? So that world file, huge, very important. And then this XML file, that's metadata. So if you double click on that, it brings up this very weird looking kind of coded document. But you can kind of skim through it and you can make out some stuff about, who made this thing, what's the spatial reference and the date of the data and things like that. Okay, so these are important to go along with that main image. And so what we'll do here is go ahead and select all three of these because, like with the shape files we worked with last time, we want to bring all of this stuff together, right? All these things that have the exact same name, just a different extension. So I'm going to grab all of these. I'll just go ahead and right click and cut. And I'm going to bring it into this map project that I made. So I just called this one Amargosa. That's the name of the little creek we're going to be looking at. So I opened up ArcGIS Pro, did a new map project, gave it this name. It made the folder in documents, ArcGIS projects, right? Same place, same location. We've been looking for stuff. So I went into that folder and I'm just going to right click and paste. Going to add that in there. Okay. And what you'll see, like I've done with other classes, like the first video, I walked you through the process. This one, I'm going to be a little more terse with things, a little more brief on the process of downloading the data, moving it over, getting it set up. In future videos, it'll be, I assume you can do this, right? Same kind of process every time. So hopefully this makes sense, but take it slow. It's just like what we did in the previous week's exercises. All right, that's done. I'm just going to close these things here, come into ArcGIS Pro, and I had this open so it's not showing my new aerial image. So I'm going to right click, go back here. It says folders in the main project folder, and I'm going to hit refresh. And sure enough, there's my little L7 TIFF file. Okay, brought in. And I'll go ahead and left click and drag that in. Beautiful. And it's a case too where when working with these very large, this was, I forget what it was, like 250 megabytes, just this one little square of the larger Los Angeles County, it might take a little while. It might be slow to drag things in. It might also ask you as you're bringing stuff in, do you want to calculate statistics? Do you want to draw pyramids? Things like that. If it asks you some question about, hey, do you want me to do this thing because it's going to speed stuff up or help you out? Go ahead and hit yes. It's fine. It's just going to make other little embedded files in there. Not going to bother you, but hopefully it will speed up how it redraws this thing as you zoom in or move around or whatever. Okay, so short of some big error message that says, nah, if it's asking you, do you want me to do this? Go ahead and hit yes. Chances are it's good. There's a reason for it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit save just because we save early, we save often. Now, one thing, well, a few things here. Let me talk about what we're looking at. This image, it's, as I said, one little tile because the larger mosaic of all of these different aerial photographs is gigantic. I forget how many gigabytes it is, but it's humongous, something we can't easily, share through Canvas and download and all that. But it's from this project that covers the entirety of Los Angeles County. And so it's the LA County government, other local government agencies, it's colleges and universities around Los Angeles. All of these different groups kind of chipped in money, working together to have high quality, high resolution, up to date aerial imagery flown, right? And then we get access to it when it's done. And that's what we're looking at here. And this is pretty cool. The resolution is 4 inches, okay? Meaning each little grid cell in this image, each pixel, it's 4 inches by 4 inches in reality, right? That's tiny. And you can envision this, like, look down at the ground wherever you are, picture a little 4 inch by 4 inch square. That's represented by 1 pixel in the image. That's why this is so massive. But it's also why, let me go back to this cursor, why when we zoom in, we get some pretty remarkable detail. Okay. It's about like 1 to 500 where it starts to get a little fuzzy. You can see the scale down here. We'll talk about that at some point, what that actually means. But this is remarkable what we're able to see with these different aerial images. Not what you get on Google Maps or the free stuff that you can access through ArcGIS Pro or whatever. This is high quality data. So pretty cool. Then we get to work with it. Now, this tile in particular right here, I selected because it's got a portion of this Amargosa Creek. You can see it labeled right here on this base map. And this creek, it's a wash. It's a drainage. It's not flowing with water unless some big rainstorm has happened or whatever. But it's important to the Antelope Valley and the groundwater in the area. We have this recharge project not too far from this location where as water flows down during these storms and all that, there's been work done downstream to be able to capture this water, to have it actually seep into the ground and recharge the local aquifers. It's an effort to, in this current era of climate change and drought concerns and all of that, it's this effort to capture whatever water we can, right, to recharge the underground supplies so that when we have a dry year in the future, which we know we're going to have, we've saved some of this water. So pretty cool that we're finally starting to do that. Took us a while. We should have been doing this back in the 1980s, but here we are. So I thought we'd look at this creek and look at, here's the other thing I want to show. Look at how it's represented in GIS. Okay? On this base map, we have just this dashed line, and the dashed line indicating that it's not a permanent year-round stream, something where it's constantly flowing with water, like the Colorado or the Mississippi River or something like that. It means that no, it's sometimes full of water, sometimes not. But it's a single line, right? That's on this. Here, let me take that off. It's just a single line running through there, which is fine for this base map. If I turn the aerial image back on and I zoom in and we look at the actual terrain, you can see that, it's more than just one simple line. There are multiple lines of drainage in here, some deeper than others, but clearly it's a little more complicated than this existing representation. And what you can do, if you click on raster layer, okay, so from this ribbon here, and if you don't see raster layer, if it's not an option, make sure in the contents pane you've selected the TIFF image. So see how mine's highlighted right there. That's so I can see some of this stuff to work with raster things. And it also, like with this thing I'm going to do, it knows that this is the raster I'm working with. Okay, so from raster layer, click on this icon. It's the swipe tool. So it's like two rectangles and some arrows going in opposite directions. If I click on that, my cursor changes, that triangle thing. And if I left click and hold, it will remove that aerial image and show what's underneath it, right? So this is kind of cool. I can see that underlying, representation of the creek in comparison to the actual aerial image, right? Like what the ground actually looks like. So I'm going up and down. If you move your cursor around, you can see you can change how it's oriented and all of that. Just kind of a cool tool. to be able to see what we're working with. But that's what I want to do here. This is what I want to create today, or have you create anyway, is a feature class that accurately represents this creek itself and the actual, channels and drainages that have been cut in this area. Something that looks closer to reality than what we're working with here with this base map, right? That's the goal. So we're going to use this aerial image to create some actual vector data, some nice lines that represent this stuff. You dig? All right, that's the plan. So go ahead and let's hit save. Here we're going to save early. We're going to save often. And let's see, what's the best way to do this? All right, here's what I want you to do. From the catalog pane, right click on folders. Okay, and you got two options. And what we want is this first one, this add folder connection. Okay, so if I click on that, it's going to give me the option to connect it to anywhere else on my computer or out in the cloud or whatever. Okay. And it's kind of a pain that we have to do that you just can't easily click, but whatever. It's what we do in ArcGIS. From here, I want you to scroll down to Geodatabase 220, this thing we've done before. Left click on that. Let's see. And if I do, yeah, okay. Here, go back. Don't do what I just did. Stay in projects here. Just left click on Geodatabase 220 and hit OK. All right. And that brings it over here. And now if I expand that, I've got this geodatabase that we were messing with in a previous exercise, right? And what I want to do is, instead of adding everything here to this project folder right there, I'm going to put it into this kind of what I envision to be a master geodatabase to contain all of this different work that we do, right? So we can kind of learn about storing data, having having one location where it all goes. That's the idea. Okay. So from here, let's see, we've got Geodatabase 220. We've got this California thing. Let's go ahead right here. Let's right click on this and go to, let's see, new and feature data set. Okay. And this feature data set, we're going to call this one, let's do Antelope Valley. I'll do an underscore there. In fact, actually, I did the capital stuff, but I think I mentioned before that I don't do capitals because I'm an old man and come from that era when we didn't do that stuff. I'm going to change that right there. So I've got that. Coordinate system. If I hit the drop down, go ahead and select this aerial image, and it's in NAT 83, which we've seen, but it's state plane California zone 5. That works for what we're doing. Kind of, maybe irrelevant for you and what we're playing around with here, but this is the standard one for this county level kind of government data and all of that. So this is a perfect one for this area. So we're just going to use the coordinate system that our aerial image came in, right? And so I'll hit run. And it just kind of says, yep, it worked. We'll go back here. And so, yeah, we've got this Antelope Valley right there. So that data set saved. And I'm checking the time here. Let's go ahead and save this. I think this will be a good stopping point. Stop here with this video. This will be part 1. And then part 2, we'll get into what we're actually going to do. Creating a feature class, starting the editing. It'll be all about editing. So at this point, we just want to create that data set and connect to our Geodatabase 220. So once you got that, hit save. Check out the next video. We'll start making us a little creek. All right.